So by popular request, it's time for the follow-up on the CRASHOUT situation. I understand why you want me to talk about this because it is just really, really interesting to see progression groups, and there's just a lot of layers to this. A long time ago, I made a video talking about how the end of SARS WoW time was basically this raid that Grayson led. And it's just interesting to talk about a progression group. And just want to mention this Molten Core for a second here because Grayson is a solid leader. That's one thing that I want to make abundantly clear that I don't feel like I did in my previous video. In the last video I made, I talked about how it was going to be my last ever talking about CRASHOUT. And that in general, I was just being overly harsh for the sake of being overly harsh. The reality is that Grayson is hard carrying this group. And it's just interesting how some people in this raid group live in different delusions almost. And I just want to talk about that because that to me is the takeaway in the bit that I've watched. So we'll just watch some of these interesting clips now.
Let's
If
go.
you need buffs, please whisper the class that can do it. Don't
Just watch threat.
clutter comms.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Remember, we're not unboomed right now, so just, you know, be aware.
Thunder.
Yeah, we should try to spread them a bit, by the way, but not the biggest deal. Sai, you're on X, by the way, not school.
Oh, I thought you
See
said
now.
skull. Okay, my bad, my bad.
Yeah, Dakata's on school, and you and Death Row on X.
Yeah, sure. My bad, I just misheard them.
So I just want to make clear what happened there real quick. We're going to see Sar's death, so we'll just watch Sar's death now. During that pull, that mob did a knockback. So it was actually good that that feral was second on threat there. Otherwise, the person that was second was not a tank. So always interesting to note those moments of things that could go worse that don't. Whereas this goes worse, right? Sarth just died. And talked before how this was the end of Sar's time playing WoW, and now he is a different sort of streamer. Doesn't even really stream, right? His first experience in a raid at 60 and just getting one shot. And again, the call there was to stack, right? We talked about how before if he had been super far ranged or if they hadn't stacked, he wouldn't have gotten hit. But anyways, Bean is cracking up in the background. But besides that one incident, it was a really solid run. And you definitely get to hear people's appreciation at the end here.
Is that a hunter item or what? You
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
make sure
yeah,
before the
yeah,
hammer
yeah.
goes.
Yeah, that's insane, by the way. Cheer
That
on
was the
one.
best raid
5,
out of all of them.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Fuck Grayson!
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go,
Wait,
rejects!
seriously, rejects. I'm proud of you guys. Can we get an org port?
Yeah, good job.
Hey, yo,
everybody.
Grayson, I'm proud of you, dog. The call was incredible.
shit,
The
wow.
leadership was
Good
S
raid
tier.
Grayson,
You're
it's
proud of
crazy.
us, man. Yeah, excellent
Yeah.
raid lead. I'll
Wow,
follow you in there
Best
anytime,
lead
brother.
of the
Thank you,
game so
dog.
far, dude.
Thank you.
Hey,
So I didn't watch that full raid before. I didn't watch this full raid now, but those are the most exciting moments for me. So moving on, let's talk about some of the last weeks. So I might not get the different chronological experiences perfectly right here. That's not the point. The point is to show how people are just generally, in a lot of cases, sabotaging from lack of gameplay and what Grayson has to deal with. It was more evident at different points earlier when like everyone's doing it that it's just how it's going. Whereas now, because he's been able to fully internalize it, he's not going to pugs anymore. He's able to weed out a little bit of like the true bad actors and get a little bit of better people. And the true bad actors just kind of weed themselves out. So we'll just see some of these interesting situations here.
I, for one, am super tired of this TTS slander. How could you,
Oh
Gary?
my fucking
Anyways,
God.
I guess
The
enjoy your
TTS just
raid
cracks
or
me up.
whatever.
Remember, we
Slay
can
hard
disarm
check.
these. Ooh, face this away from the raid. Dude, like, I'm gonna literally just go fish show down, brother. Fish show down, brother.
So I want to stay more constructive. We'll just let this continue here. But the main takeaway here is just how valuable stuns are, where there's so many cows that could have done stomps there, right? Or rogues that stun. Grayson had to pick up a second mob and face it away. Also, there could have been a scatter. We've seen more and more hunters have some pro scatters on those shades as it's coming in, so tanks have a second to intercept on it. But anyways, that skull mob then ran away and hit someone else because he was getting threat on that second target. And so rip, this was the first world buffs lost there. So rip Fisho's buffs. And justice for Fisho comes later from that experience. So yeah, Bakomi's just like AFK here, had someone on follow. So that I don't know if that person realized that they were on follow, and he's just like, what's going on? Guy's just dying in the poison AFK. But that's why he's down there, is because he was on follow. So now we move forward here. I don't think there's too much more exciting stuff. Moving forward slightly. Okay, so yeah, Bakomi just dies in the back because he doesn't get healed. And he's AFK. So he just wasn't in line of sight. It looks to me like he may have been out of the poison at this point because I don't see him having the poison debuff, but he's still just getting hit by the gargoyles, right? And no one's healing him. So second round of world buffs lost. And I just want to focus on the drip of buffs and how that affects them versus their last couple weeks of having considerable improvements. Because if I haven't made that clear from the start of this video, they are improving a lot. The reps that they're getting by bringing the same people and practicing the basics have really stacked up. As well as, you know, most of the same people are coming back, so they're getting more gear. Lots of these guys have tier 3 now. So anyways, yeah, Fukomi just dies AFK in the back because he didn't get healed. That's the main takeaway from this. So they now keep their buffs out. They move forward here. They have a good mech. Oh, they actually lose a couple of people. That's unfortunate. So they had like a couple deaths in Spider, but they are keeping their buffs out and trying to use their buffs. So that's the power of, again, that consistency. Since they've had those same people in a couple weeks now, they're feeling more confident on the stuff where they want to use buffs. And in reality, like they showed this week, when they kept their buffs out basically the whole time, the raid went a lot better, right? So we'll just watch that experience after this. So yeah, kind of scary pull, but here's the real scary moment.
Mages do not decurse, no decursing.
No, we need every GNPP right now if you haven't. We need Fukomi, can you log the fuck online? Is Fukomi here? Fukomi, log online, brother. You're not even online. Bro, guys, we're about to lose world buffs. Lock in every cooldown in the world. Every cooldown. GNPP right now. Hellstones. Kill Skull ASAP. What the fuck are we doing, bro? Okay, guys, we are about to lose world buffs if we don't lock in. Kill this quick. We need every healer to heal. We need Tranks. Tranks. Fucking idiots, bro. Fish out,
And
buddy.
the award for plus size
Holy
streamer of the year
shit,
goes
dude. Bro, how do we do that, man? Shut the fuck. Fish out, dude.
His close check.
Fish out, what are you doing?
Raid 5
It's
gifties of someone intentionally wipes.
Man, bro, what are we doing? Fish.
So yeah, he definitely crashes out a little bit there because that really sucks. The guy that lost buffs earlier, first guy to lose buffs, just made a lot of other people to lose buffs. So to be clear what happened here, he again was still distracted as a raid leader by Fakomi being offline. He's like, "What's up, dude? Why aren't you here?" He just kept on like coming and going, or like was back. I don't know. It just wasn't super great, right? And then what happens here is Fisho just runs down. I mean, a couple of people are running down kind of behind, but it looks like they stop and they realize what's going on. So a little bit of a bait how some people are moving up. He mentions to GNPP, which they really shouldn't need to do at that point at all, but they definitely need to do it now. So in a circumstance like this, I mean, they're just screwed. They don't have that high of damage, and this situation is super, super deadly. In reality, maybe they could have focused X a little bit more here, and then they wouldn't have gotten 1 or 2 extra stacks, but it's just rough, right? They may have gotten 1 less, which really wouldn't have saved them at all. So just didn't need to move forward and needed to make that more clear. So unfortunate. And then because of that later, this was my short today talking about how it gets down to 3K and then it lives. So a little hard to see what's going on from this perspective. But just super low, and they just don't quite get it. So, of course, if they had, but I think this was like, yeah, they had another time previously attempting it, maybe. Yeah. So that was the second death. So some serious Heigen troubles, but they eventually do get through it, I believe, and kill it. Yeah, they do kill Heigen. So it's great. This suppression room area is just super, super challenging if you don't have a decent DPS group and a lot of people that use mana. So just have to play a little bit conservative in that area as a caster. Anyways, they struggle a little bit on Vesuvius, but get it down, and then Gothic is just a wall. So Grayson did have his buff still at this point. They're just dying. They use the rest of their world buffs, and they are able to kill it. Plus, they get more practice and more reps. Like, these guys are taking the time to do the content. They almost get Lotheb. They get down to like 25, 30%. Actually, much less than that. Never mind. 60%. And to Grayson's point here, he said, if we had world buffs, I think we might have been able to do it. Or maybe that was a different one. I don't know. Like I said, I'm mixing these clips up a little bit at this point. But we're now going to watch another part of progression here where I guess this was now day 1 we're watching. We watched day 2 here at the start. And they already had A-bomb wing down. But now this one, this is why they didn't get A-bomb wing down. Because they had a 4-hour raid. Well, when I say 4 hours, it took them an hour to form, so that's not totally fair. But as far as raid time being in the instance, they did some patchwork progression, and he is getting a little bit more serious about like assignments, which I think is good. I would put this somewhere though. I understand the idea of being casual and stuff, but like maybe even just spam it in Twitch chat so everyone sees it over and over. I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's the full problem, but sometimes just everyone knowing the assignments would be really, really, really good. So anyways, again, they've just been putting in the reps, getting better and better practice on this stuff. So Ratal does die at the last second. They're losing more people. It's got just a 1K left. You see people like running out and being total wusses, where like this is a bad trend where if it's so close to being dead, just kill it. I guess unless you know you're in the top 4. That's the one exception. But people just have to make sure that they're all in on prog content. And I think that's like one of the big things that people just get weeded out over time, right? When they're just not down for the prog. So unfortunately, lose all the tanks on Patrick, but they do kill it, right? So this now gets rough. They do kill it. Oh, no, they don't. That is tragic. So decent start. They just had one extra slime, and then he gets kind of owned here. So he doesn't have a stone shield on, or, I mean, understandable to not have Zanza after you've died. But kind of tragic right there. Well, partially really good timing, right? If he had died 1 second earlier and the boss had turned around, it would have slimed on everyone. But just wasn't quite topped off. Didn't have inspiration buff. I guess I forget on Horde side if that shaman buff is as good as inspiration. I don't remember that. But anyways, tragedy. So Crossbones almost saves this, and then Bilberto takes it over. Because Crossbones dies here, I think. No, Crossbones doesn't die for a long time. Okay, so he tanks for a long time, but eventually people are just dying more and more to the poison, the slimes. It just gets out of control. So barely don't kill this boss. 3k. That is tragic. So in 2 different bosses, they got it down to 3k. And that's the big thing to mention too, is how few warriors these guys are bringing to raid. Where if they just had that little bit extra pump instead of like 4 warlocks and 2 enhancement shamans, things would be a little bit different. Correction, 5 warlocks. 5 warlocks, not 4. But anyways, they do manage to kill Grob, and they go on to Gluth here. Gluth gets so close as well. Like 30k, 25k, 7k, and then they don't kill it. So that's just a couple executes. Like, they are so close on some of this stuff. And it wears on you. It's tiring where you are someone that is using consumables, using everything that you got, and other people in the raid are not. That differential is really, really tough. One thing to mention too is when you wipe on Grob, that's really punishing. Or Patrick, if you wipe before you kill Grob, it's really punishing, where the ads keep spawning in the middle. And as a newer raid group, that just is something that these guys are always struggling with. So anyways, they keep going, they keep going. Another wipe. They keep going. Crossbones still had his buff, so he popped his buffs that time. He has 9 stacks, I think, so he's like not able to be healed almost at this point, and they kill it. So pretty fortunate timing. So now on Thaddeus, if people haven't done Thaddeus before, it is definitely a rougher fight where people need to learn the debuffs. So they wipe once, they wipe a second time, but they're getting better, right? Some of these things you just have to die to, basically, as a classic era first timer or anniversary first timer. If you're not from era and not familiar with these mechanics over and over doing them, it's something that you just need some reps on. That's what makes hardcore so interesting, is how some of these hardcore players don't have those reps and other people do have a lot of those reps, right? So just going back to that hardcore Molten Core that we saw Grayson raid lead, a lot more of those guys, I would say, had some level of experience at that point, because they've watched, I think that was maybe like the 3rd or 4th reset, but they probably watched and seen Molten Core before, even if they weren't mainly WoW players. Whereas some of these guys in the Nax prog that we've seen, they've just never done this before ever. And again, it's cool to see how it is getting better over time. But just a rough one right here. Let's see the start of this. Okay, so a lot of people die in the opener here. So again, Fukomi wipes them. Ripperino. Well, I guess I shouldn't say again. I don't think he's necessarily wiped them before this. But Rip's threat on the opener. The question does come down, though, to, like, was this shield kind of grief? Where he just doesn't get rage for a second here. He doesn't have Death Wish pre-popped, so ideally you want to have Death Wish going into this boss as a tank. Probably as a DPS too after a couple seconds, but that loss of control, they get a couple ads, they get more ads, and it just falls apart. So Ripperino, and then they wipe again, I believe. So again, on all these pull, Grayson is using consumables, that GNPP, full round of offensive spells, and it's just a lot. So this time see Death Wishes on the opener. They get set up right, but they just lose one person here on the knockup. Always recommend that you have every kind of armor additional thing that you can have, right? So inner fire, ice armor as mages and priests, because that's a UC die, right? It's the mage and the priest. So they could probably levitate or slow fall or blink, but even then you just take less damage from the impale if you have more armor. So thinking of that mindset is important as a less buffed raid group. But again, from this experience, they got more loot. They got stronger. So we watched both of these now. Now we'll go to the Four Horsemen prog. And I've had a couple of you guys been asking me about Four Horsemen a lot in the DMs, and I think this is a really good opportunity to talk about that more, what's going wrong for these guys. They spend like a full hour talking about it, and if you haven't done Four Horsemen much before, that really is kind of what you just need to do, right? Like, it's a different fight than every other fight in Nax or in the game.
All the time. I make room for this guy all the time when he's late for raid, constantly, and then he's just not here for fucking prog. And it's not like...
Who is it?
Raid. Full consumes for every raid. Sappers for every raid. Raid every week for every raid.
I don't know who he's talking about. I'm curious.
Anything and give me gold and loot when I ask for G kicked.
I'm pissed at Bonsai, brother.
Bonsai, okay. So,
prog.
Like, that's one thing I'll give him a lot of credit for, where he's pretty good at knowing his raiders. Again, that's the cool thing about more and more people that have been coming back to these raids over and over. They're just getting a lot better because it's the same people. Like I said, in some cases, there's definitely still double agents, but some of those double agents, that's just the way they are, and Grayson as a raid leader has to adjust to it. So I think generally he's doing a pretty good job at that. So we're getting into the paint now, where at the start of the Nax prog, Grayson was very against doing any kind of assignments and saying, oh, you don't need that. But yes, you do. If you are doing Nax, you need to have some sort of visuals, and the different visuals that people come up with are always funny. The discussions on how people learn how to coordinate. Way back in the day, man, almost 8 years ago now, maybe, where Risen famously went outside Ironforge in Chronos. Back in Chronos days, that was the tech, right? Everyone has something and some way of practicing, whether it's visuals, doing it in game is that next step. I kind of recommend that, like, before Four Horsemen, you just clear that whole area down where they are right here before they get to this area here. Just clear this whole room and use this as a practice Four Horsemen room, and do a couple, like 3, 4, maybe 6 marks, and practice how people are supposed to move. This is Mark 1. This is Mark 2. Okay, DPS. At Mark 3, we're expecting that Thane will be dead. Move now. But it's mainly to do the different, whatever it's called, um, healer rotations and tank rotations. So I don't know who Miko is, but that's funny. Didn't notice that before. Anyways, the key here is that they don't get it. And when you don't end up killing the boss, some of the naysayers speak louder. And that's one of the main reasons that I feel like now I'm finally needed to make the video. Some of you have been insistent for weeks that I should talk about this, but I didn't want to. I said that I would make no more videos on it, but this sucks as a raid leader, okay? Like, I really feel for Grayson here, because it's just not fair, right? Like, some of these guys with the silly things that happen, you can't do more. And in some ways, you can always nitpick and say that you could do more. But in some of these situations here, it is just so close, right? Like, we've seen so many times now where they almost kill Grub. They almost kill Huygen. 3k health on multiple bosses, right? Like, it's insane how close they keep getting. And I just want to give them a lot of credit that they keep trying, right? They were so close to a easy 4 horseman kill, and they didn't get it. And now those people that were naysayers will be like, oh, terrible strats, that was so bad. When I'm happy to see that Grayson is staying very firm and talking about what people are doing wrong and sticking with the strat as much as possible. We'll talk about the flaws now. Next time that we see paint, I think would be a good time to talk about that. Fundamentally, from a roster standpoint, these guys are on the back foot when they have such few warriors, right? You need to have at least 7 warriors ideally, or tanks. You could have a feral druid or 2 easily, but 7 tanks for 4 horsemen, and that's tough. So he's starting to lay it out here, bringing out the paint, and then putting the paint into, or the notepad into the paint, I should say. So that's going to be the process here for a long time. And this just kind of sucks for the flasks, right? Where they just wasted 45 minutes on their flask standing in front of this boss. Where definitely could have logged on, but again, the problem when you log off for this long of a period of time is you got to come back every 5 minutes, or you have to run all the way back to 4 horsemen. So it's just rough. And again, that's the challenge of Prague that these guys are facing, is the amount of time to set stuff up as a newer raid group, and what that does to your consumables and your ability to just raid well and get through stuff consistently. Because that's going to be the main talking point to me, as far as, I believe they had 2 attempts before this. So they set a lot of stuff up. Again, it's just so cute how they do assignments here. I recommend, I made a video on this as far as Excel, Google Sheets go, and how some of those can just be really, really useful for an axe. But do what works for you. I'm not going to tell other people how to play the game. Again, that to me is the cool thing about a raid group like this, where they're just figuring it out and getting through it. But again, that's also the not cool thing with some of these naysayers who can then just try and say that things are wrong when Grayson is actually going about them the right way. So I want to talk about this rotation. I don't recommend this. What I recommend is that you have 3 to 4 tanks in the front. So if you can burn Mograine, which these guys can, then you only need 7 tanks. You really do need 8 if you can't burn Mograine. But anyways, let's just explain why I don't recommend this full rotation like this. You want to have front tanks and back tanks. That makes things so much easier for people later on in the fight to understand where to be. If you only have 4 tanks in the back, all they have to do is be on one side, go to the safe zone, and then go to the other side. That's the only things on their mind. If you start doing a full rotation like this, it's just too much for tanks. And it doesn't totally make sense with this, right? Where Thane will be dead after 3 marks. So I guess this tank from Blamo just goes to the safe spot, and then they need to be ready to go to Mograine after. But that already is kind of wrong, because what you're going to see here is after Thane dies, Grayson always goes to pick up Mograine. So it's already kind of like confusing and off, where then when Grayson is about ready for Mograine to be done, he's trying to go into Ziliak. When, like, what's this other tank doing for a minute, 2 minutes? It's just starts to create backups and different tanks going in different times. I don't recommend this. What I recommend is you have a front tank starting out on Blamo, a front tank starting out on Ziliak, and then when Thane dies, you have one guy go relieve Blamo and one guy go relieve Ziliak. That means you have 4 tanks in the back. And those guys, the only thing they're thinking about is Blamo and Ziliak. And those bosses don't hit super hard. So basically any warrior in full tier 2.5, if they have life-giving or understand how to use different defensives, understand the mechanics of getting out of void zones and not being poorly stacked for Holy Wraths on Ziliak, they will be good to go. Maybe that was just a lot of things that I said there, but again, to keep it really simple, are you on Blamo? No. Okay, be in the safe spot. Are you supposed to go to Ziliak? Yes. Okay, well, how many marks does that tank have? Well, just click on them. They have 3 marks. Okay, it's time for me to go in, right? Super simple. Tank your corner, you get relieved when you get 4 or 5 marks, then you go safe spot. Then you go to other side. That's all it really is from a tank perspective. On the front, all they are then worried about is surviving on Mograine. The main tank takes Thane. The beefy off tank takes Mograine to start. Mograine's the hardest hitting boss, so it's scary. You need to have fire protection, most likely tanking this would be my recommendation, mixed with mitigation. If you have 150, 200 fire resist, and your only thought is tanking Mograine, it's easy, right? You have one tank that's more focused on threat, making sure that they're able to deal with whatever it's called here, Thane with threat. That's the big test, burning Thane. But again, talking about their strategy here, it's smart. They have the DPS to not burn everything on Thane, survive Thane, and then burn everything on Mograine. The problem is I think too many people shadow pot when they're leaving Thane. If you get 3-4 marks on Thane, you're not going to die, right? Don't waste your defensives here. Wait until you have to leave Mograine, and then you know you won't die leaving Mograine. At the same time, you need to have the understanding of its 5k health is how much you're going to get hit if you get that 5th mark. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's 4 marks, but I think it's 5. That 5th mark is the real killer one. Maybe it's 4 is 5k. Tell me in the comments. The point is that 3 is not going to kill you, right? If you have over 5k health, know that that 3rd mark is totally fine. And I believe you can take 4 marks easily. I'm pretty sure it's 5 is 5k. Anyways, the main point is the tragedy that you're going to see here coming up. So we'll watch the buffed attempt now where they die, because it's going so well. Man, this is just so tragic. It hurts me.
4, 3, 2, 1.
So Mighty Rage's opener. And of course, the terrible TTS immediately starts. You just have to deal with it.
Stack up here.
Welcome to this world.
Forgot about this shit.
So he gets distracted by that, but gets through it, has the Shadow Pot, so he's taking like 0 damage on Thane. Pretty good multitasking, honestly. So they're at 3 marks.
Kill this, guys.
I would recommend pulling this a little bit farther back. It could be more in the
Hold
corner.
your GSPP, okay? We go to this guy.
Good
All right,
comms.
and we're gonna we wreck on this guy. Do it when he's lower though, okay?
So we got that kind of early mark on Thane, or
Pump
Mograine, I
this
should
bitch.
say, right? Like, ideally, you
Yeah, we
would
can
have that
disarm
first
him
mark
too.
go out, and then you walk in. Where he gets the second mark already pretty quickly
Burn
here.
him.
So a good disarm from someone else. But no demo. The no demo
Okay,
shot is rough.
Bill Bordeaux should come here too when Ratau gets him. Kill this bitch. Kill this bitch. I died. Disarm, disarm. Just kill him, boys. Kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. GSPP. GSPP right now. GSPP. Get out of range. Run, run. Okay, now get out of mark. Guys, his mark where he died, it's far. Go back left far. Back left far. Oh, no. Fucking hell. No.
Cinema, man. They were so close, and he just got owned there. In retrospect, the timing was just really unfortunate. Last stand ends, disarm ends, the combo of that, his health just disappears. Gets womboed. The fourth mark goes out. It would have been 3 again, like we talked about, if he had waited slightly longer. But at the end of the day, just need to have that disarm, need to have that demo shout. And if you look at the damage taken, it was so much fire damage. So let's look at damage taken from Grayson here. So, bang. All that Mograine damage. It's a lot. Actually, this might be the wrong kill. This one's the right kill. Where he starts on Thane. Just to make sure. Yeah. And we can check that by looking at buffs. Seeing that this is the pull that he had buffs. Maybe not. Buffs. Very strange that I'm not able to find it like this. We'll go to everyone, click buffs overall by going to encounters. I'm looking for a world buff. I just don't see any world buffs though. There we go. So now we got it. Actually, it didn't help me find it at all. Let me go to buffs like this. It's just a very long raid, makes it a little bit harder to look at things individually. Okay, here we go. What the heck? It's just not working. Don't want to crumble here and splice up the video, but go to events, 139. Now we got it. Damage taken, 139. There we go. So that's the second, it looks like. I guess the way I could have done it is just knowing. We can look at it by clicking and seeing which deaths were first. So it wasn't this one where Fisher died first. It must have been the third one then. Clicking deaths. Yes, here we go. So the point that I wanted to make is damage taken here, where it was a lot of Mograine damage. Man, this still doesn't look right to me. Is this really how it went? No, I'm tripping out. Where he tanked Thane at the start, why doesn't it show any damage taken from Thane? Only shows Mograine. I don't understand that. And that makes me really, really confused. But we're just going to move on with life. And again, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like, he's totally taking things. I'm just not looking at the right ones. Because this one talks about how Ratal's getting hit on the third one. Yeah, I don't get it. Try and have higher production, so I'm very confused. Okay, so this one, Ratal is tanking Mograine to start. Actually, I think it is this one, right? No. So confused. Okay, the first one. Yeah, must be. Yeah. Okay. So we did it. We finally figured out what we were trying to look for. Huh, so he didn't take nearly as much damage. But still died. It's just the combo. Going to events. Damage taken. So in just a second here, he got hit by, well, a second and a half, 2 seconds. Righteous Fury for 3k. A Mark combo with melee, and then another Righteous Fury. So kind of crazy how you can get hit for 2k and another 2k within 3 seconds like that. But yeah, on Thane, he just really didn't take much damage. On this fight, it's mostly fire damage that just burned him down in combination with the Mark. There. Finally got the point that I was trying to get across. I want to try and show more of looking through logs like that, how we find things, but that was a little bit painful. Sorry, boys. Anyways, then at the end, let's talk about what happens here.
You were flaming a Tonkin raid like 2 weeks ago. What do you mean? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was a BWL or something.
So this was now a couple weeks ago. I'm going back to the past.
Why are we sad about that?
So O Hunter here is sad about the 4 out of 15.
Only cleared last week, and now this.
So I think it's really good to have his positivity, right? So this is the run where it took him 3 hours to do whatever it's called. A-bomb wing, and then followed by the wipes in a noob. And at the end, O Hunter is just disappointed. Grayson keeps it positive. And then O Hunter says here, I thought Raiders would have had their big boy pants, just did mechanics properly after doing some doing them right some other times. And that's the problem with Nax, right? When people don't do mechanics consistently and things go wrong. And all we can say is how things are moving forward since this date, right? This was 2 weeks ago, and now they just had like a really, really solid raid outside of not being able to kill 4 horsemen. But besides Gothic and 4 horsemen, they cleared the entire raid in 3 hours. So that level of progression, to me, it kind of clearly shows that they are on pace to being able to kill Saf and KT by the end of the anniversary server. I want to see what happens here if this is the rough one. So they just don't have the damage to kill Thane without buffs. That really ends up being the problem. So I just want to... Okay, so this is the one where now there's a crash out. So it's no longer Grayson tanking Mograine to start. And that's too bad, because Grayson definitely has the best threat out of these tanks. And 0 just dies. It's a little hard to see with the sub.
Thank you.
It's always at the start of pulls, the A goes out. But yeah, so 0 dies here. Again, I think it's a little confusing how he's then moving on to this, but it's a wipe. They just all die to things they're running out. And that's the problem right there, out of shadow pots at this point. To be able to do this reliably as a non-buffed group, you need to pre-pop a shadow pot and then use another one on your way out. Kill Thane in 1 round, and then just chip away at Mograine after getting 3 marks. Get 3 marks on Mograine as DPS, go to Blamo, then come back to Mograine and hopefully finish it off. And you just have to make sure that your tank survives on Mograine. So as we talked about, the back 4 are doing their thing, and then the front 3 are in tankier gear and just rotating between Mograine. As long as the tanks stay alive, nice easy kill. And again, that's the point to make. They were so close to that nice easy kill, but now they lost their buffs, and it's much more challenging. So as we talked about here, 0 dies on the opener, and I just want to talk about that opener here from a tank perspective, where this is just not a good opener. So let's go to events, where he death wishes, and then Rex goes to defensive stance, press taunt, and then just doesn't have any rage. If you look at damage done by events, he's just got slow weapons, and that is a problem when your first hit misses. So he's done 0 anything 6 seconds into the fight. He has no passive, any form of threat generation, and that's going to get someone killed. So we'll just now click off the individual person and go here, where Grayson hits Mograine at the start. Bilberto has a dodge there. Taunt resist on Mograine, so a little bit scary. People are starting to hit Thane. It's not like it's just 0 right? Like, 0 did have the ranged Flame Shot go out as a ranged spell, but he was doing multiple different casts here where he put down his different totems, and it's not like it was his first global. Whereas you have all these different people hitting Thane, right? So, critting on Thane, meleeing Thane, melee Thane, Sinister Strike on Thane, multiple rogue Sinister Striking, different stuff happening. And then here, Hunter has a melee Wind Fury happen with another Flame Strike, and then dies. So Storm Strike as well. Lightning Shield resists, unfortunately, doesn't do that last little bit of damage, and then he dies. But it's not like that he was doing that much more, right? And as an enhancement shaman, I guess you just have to watch out for that for a second, but the problem was that the other tank did nothing. On the previous pull, he used a Mighty Rage, and that led to a much better opener. The problem is that he is just not using really good tank weapons. As an orc, I understand why you would want to use 2 axes here, but reality is that these are just slow weapons. If that first hit misses, that second hit just takes so long. And in some ways, it's great if you get Wind Fury, right, I guess, but reality is, on if you're main tanking a fight like Thane, you need to be able to generate threat on the opener, going in with rage. Make sure you're in D stance at the start. Critical. Also kind of question, I guess, Hand of Justice is good, but it's just interesting to me how like no one uses the Undead Trinket in this raid, I swear. Seal of Dawn, all the rogues are using, that's good. But just in terms of like DPS optimization here, you don't want to have Badge of Stormguard. I understand why you think that's a good trinket. Maybe if like there's not Sunders going out, but the reality is pretty sure MPA is even going out, right? Like Badge is not good on a fight like this. Earthstrike is much better. But again, just a lot of people, neither, I don't know. It's different being the Nightfall person, but yeah, like maybe you don't have good gloves, so that's why you're not doing this, but you want to have 15 agility on things, right? Or attack speed, I guess, I don't know. But just a lot of unenchanted gear still in this raid. And that's the tough part as a progression group, is that you want to wait to enchant good things, but just a lot of people don't have enchants is something that I've definitely noticed. But again, they are pretty geared, right? Like lots of these guys have rank 14. We talked about that before, where while they might not have a super optimal comp, if you're able to burn Mograine, you have a solid DPS group. Like you can cope that you don't have many warriors, but the reality is that you have the damage needed to do Naxxramas at this point pretty easily if you have a raid group like this. So I think that's the last thing that I wanted to talk about there. We'll just watch Grayson watching this back as far as their wipe, where he just sees people leave early.
And now he doesn't have it. Look how fast it's dying. Look, bro. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, brother. Brother in Christ, bruh. What the fuck, dude? If these motherfucking bitches stay for 2 seconds, bro. Look how fast it dies when shield wall falls, bro.
He's totally right. So just a lot of people here that were healthy wussed out. And they all leave early. And Grayson dies. And the boss dies then more in the middle. And it's over, right? Like this was so close to being a kill. And maybe just need to be more clear as far as saying it's a death pact. I don't know. Reality is when you're raiding the same boss for hours and hours, there is both a skill increase by getting practice on it, but also just a mental increase that you just kind of lose hope and lose focus. Again, this is now 3 hours into the raid when they unboon. Or, you know, they did take an hour to get the raid started, so we'll say an hour in when they unboon, hour and a half in when they unboon, 145-ish. So really shouldn't be that much mental fatigue at this point, but you're in a stream compared to being in Discord, and in some ways it's kind of nice to have that, right? Like in some ways, just having one person make the call outs, it's easier for him. It would be nice sometimes to have different people say things, but in some ways I think this, I mean, you can't confirm that everyone's watching, but it's a streamer raid, right? Like people are watching the stream as they're playing. So with this level of coordination now, where it is all internal people and they're not recruiting that much to looking for group ever, Nax is doable at this point. And that's just the takeaway that I want to leave this with, where the arc is definitely going up. I'm not going to be able to find the example now where he does a nice little paint drawing, but he kind of talks about how negative, 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 and then slow rise now, where I thought it was hopeless when I made those videos. What was that? Only 4 weeks ago now, a month ago. These guys were struggling, and going into Thanksgiving, that's often a time where things can fall apart. And I just want to continue to talk about more and more good raid leading moving forward. There was a short from Jerome where he just talks about how there's a whole ton of people trying to use Dungeon Finder, but no one wants to start groups, essentially. And starting groups in vanilla version of the game is often just a tough job, right? Like, people don't raid lead for long term besides a couple established raid leaders. But being an admin in classic WoW is something that breaks a lot of people. So I do just want to give this raid group a lot of credit, and again, try and give some more positive reinforcement to good raid leading and seeing the prog paying off, where obviously people are going to be really negative, talk about how bad things are, but the reality is that my stance has changed, where I was kind of serious when I said that these guys had no hopes of clearing. Their old raid didn't, but seeing the level of commitment that Grayson has continued to give to it, in combination with the consistency that the raid is giving back to him, it's definitely on the come up. We didn't focus today on the raid where they killed 12 bosses, 11, it was 11 bosses. They wiped the Gothic once without buffs. I guess we do want to talk about that, right? So let's go ahead and just find that really quickly here. Okay, here we go. Because I think seeing the success here is important. And where things fall apart, right? So let's talk about where the disaster happens. So they bring buffs out here. Let me just make sure I have this all set. Okay, cool. So they have buffs out here for Lotheb, and I think he dies like right at the end. The healing gets a little bit sus, and yeah, he dies right at the end. So he has Stone Shield up, needs to have Life Giving. Highly recommend on this fight here that you have Life Giving as a additional defensive. Didn't quite have Shield Wall up, 4 minutes left on Shield Wall. Just overall pretty tragic, where lots of buffs were lost here, right? Like 8-10 people. And I can relate to this. Definitely gets just a little bit tilted from that, where he was just going to keep him alive, and now things fall apart on the next pull. And I don't think the call was made to reboon your buffs here, because he lost his buffs, right? He just didn't really care as much. And this is a disaster, just straight up disaster. The key here is that Square didn't get flipped around. They needed to have quick shaman heals, but Square just owns the raid. And in general, just kind of unlucky with the combo. Needed more focus killing Skull quickly, but again, just pretty unfortunate with the level of damage that goes out there, with the fact that those Necronites have the ability to do different sorts of abilities, and the abilities that they choose to do where it happened to be the highest damage output. So unfortunate. Then they accidentally pull more mobs. Fears happen. I think he makes the call to run out here, which isn't possible.
Run out, run out, run out. Run out. If you got world buffs, I AoE taunt, just run out.
You can't run out an axe. He finds that out
You
here.
can't run out? Oh, well, it's motherfucking ass.
So yeah, still learning. I'm sure that he'll remember from that experience now. I don't think he's made the run out call before. Even though they've kind of been in some similar situations before. But anyways, yeah, people all lost their buffs there on that pull. So after that, things were definitely a little bit slower pace. But the nice thing is that they had used their buffs. They cleared A-Bomb Wing quickly. Then they went into Spider Wing. They cleared all of Spider Wing. They used their buffs for basically all of Plague. So almost 3 wings where they got to use their buffs. And that meant that regardless, Death Knight Wing wasn't too bad. So I do just really respect this call here of saying to use more buffs rather than less buffs. as long as you have that consistent raid roster that you have some level of trust in. And that level of trust is definitely forming more and more. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. He's definitely spending a lot of time on this raid content. They're clearing everything. Why? There's a nice flashbang for you. Enjoy. Doing Molten Core, BWL, AQ40, Nax Prog. It's a lot, but definitely has a lot of supporters. And again, I want to reiterate what I said in the last video. This has not changed, besides the fact that I said I would not make a video. Definitely don't be overly negative, and maybe some people will just take the opposite of anything that I say. But for real, like, I think that it's cool to see the level of prog and growth, and at most just know that me talking about Nax to other groups really is just a nice bully. If you've seen my hundreds of videos at this point, you know that I definitely can trash talk, and can be in rage bait mode. But reality is, like, I just want to talk about education and how Nax and WoW can have more efficiencies, right? And it is just cool to see that happen with this group. So got baited into another video on it for over an hour. What can I say? GG's, guys, till the next one.